All right, so looks like we have a small group of people here. I'm going to get started. And as people come in, I'll probably stop a little bit just to let them in. But in any case, let me get my screen shared here so we can get going. Cool. So, ooh, that's out of the way. So today was going to be on the consumer experience in Command. So basically how you can customize your consumer experience. And if you weren't aware, there is a huge focus on the consumer experience in Command specifically. So now we have our KW app, which just got updated not that long ago, towards like the beginning of the winter. And then we also have a very robust agent website. So think of it as like a digital business card, if you want to call it that. And they've added quite a few new features as this was building out. So there's a lot more functionality within the search. They recently just added the ability to put in feature listings, which I'll also go over. And in regards to the consumer app, you're gonna have also access to things like being able to set up a video tour as a preference for your consumer. So I'm gonna get started, and we're probably gonna be focusing mainly on one particular app right now, which is this consumer one. And if there's any questions as I move forward, feel free to stop me. But how I'm going to get started right now is I want to just start from the very beginning. So I want to be able to have my marketing profile filled out. That way, once I have that filled out, any sort of, agent branding on my website or on my consumer app, all that stuff translates over from that marketing profile. So let's go ahead and fill that out first if we haven't. And I believe everybody who's in here right now probably would have had that done, but I always like to just go over that just for anybody who's watching, because I do have this on YouTube as well. So if we go into our settings menu here and we go into connect settings, I want to go to where it says marketing profile. So under marketing profile, you're going to see here, it's just going to be my basic info, like my headshot, team avatar, things like my contact information, my bio even, and stuff about my market center. Then it gets to more basic optional functions like your social accounts and things like your Facebook pixels, Google Analytics. I'm not going to go over these today, but these are things you could add into your website, which is pretty cool if you want to track the analytics. Then you also have my branded KW app link, which I'm going to show you where you can find that. As a shortcut as well, what I like to do is I like to copy this and then I have it on my dashboard. So anytime that I want to send this out to somebody, whether it be through a text or email, I just have my app link right below here. And it's just my notepad. You can access that anytime you go on your dashboard. And I use that just because sometimes I just feel like having it readily available to me instead of having to go through settings or menus. So that's just a quick tip. If you're curious, you can go ahead and just pop that in there like I did. So let's get started. We're going to go up to the top and I'll click my red button here, my favorite button in the world. We're going to go to consumer. Now under consumer, you can see I have a few different tabs currently. We have a landing page tab. I'm not going to go too far into landing pages today, but just know that's a way you can create these single property websites or open house sign-in sheets, things like that. You can also create like a little kind of like a mini virtual tour page for your listing. Also pretty cool. And you can also have it so it's lead capture, and that's why I made it for an open house specifically. If we go into agent site pages, this is going to be pretty much the outline of all the different pages I have currently available in my website. Any that are currently active or inactive, you can see there's like a little eye next to the page. If it's highlighted in green or that bluish color, that means that it's active on my website. If it's in gray, that just means that I may have created it as an example, or I didn't finish completing it, so it's not currently live on my website. So there's a couple ways you can configure your website. The one way that I actually suggest doing it is through site and app settings, and I'm going to show you why. Under site and app settings, there's quite a few of other options available in there for you. And it looks like my thing froze. Hold on one sec. So if I go into my site and app settings, if it loads, having a little bit of a lag there. Hold on. Ooh, what happened here? Seems like my command just died. Hold on. Let's go back to the beginning. What's going on? Wonder if, is everybody else having issues with command right now? Or is it just me? And check my Gmail. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Little glitch there. Anyway, we're gonna go back to consumer. And I wanna go to site and app settings. So under site and app settings, I mentioned that there's a few new options available in here. One being the ability to add in a virtual tour. And basically this is gonna allow you to link your listings to a virtual tour you currently have. Pretty cool. You'll also notice if you're ever on the website or the consumer app, some of those listing pages have virtual tour links in them. Now, these will pull from the MLS if it's in the KWLS as well, but if you want to add additional virtual tour links, you can also do that here. Unfortunately, I don't have any listings, so I can't show you, but it does let you add virtual tour links now, which is also very cool. Now, if we go back up to the top here, you can also manage your URLs, which is the domains for the website. Your app link will also live here, so you can copy and paste it anywhere. One new thing that they added last week is the featured listings page. So this is where you can actually manage featured listings. I actually added a few as an example. We're going to show you as I go through the editor, or the Kelly guide rather. This will also walk you through adding some feature listings. So how do we go ahead and do that? We're going to go ahead and click where it says learn more with Kelly guides, and you're going to bring two options up. One option is going to be your agent site. The other one's going to be your consumer settings. So one thing I do like to mention is that with the consumer settings specifically, the only real thing you can edit currently within the consumer app itself is the guides. So you have a buyer and seller guide. So you can only really edit those. With the agent site, if I click on this one, we're going to do this one first. If you haven't set up your website before, you can do it using this Kelly guide, which I highly suggest because it does kind of jumpstart your website for you. It gives you a few different content pages as well, which is super useful. And because it's going to be translating over into my consumer app, I'm going to have something that's really nice and branded to me specifically. That way, when I'm sharing it to somebody, they're going to have a nice experience, and they'll also have access to my information very easily. So let's go ahead and hit continue here. And what you're going to see here under the Kelly guide is just a list of different steps that are going to be kind of walk through here. Choosing your subdomain, your theme and styling, and then page creation. So let's go ahead and get started. And it's going to give you this compliance reminder. And you can just go ahead and hit acknowledge and continue there. Now, within the first step, it's going to have this screen here, and it's basically just going to ask you what you want your subdomain to be. Mine is going to be pulling from my old Playster site, and most of yours should have already. If you're a newer agent, you would probably just have this auto-generated, and you can always just change that as well. But basically, that's the first step, choosing your subdomain. Very simple. What do you want your subdomain to be? I always suggest something like, I have my first initial last name. I see some agents who have just their first name if they're lucky enough to have that. You can also do it, your full name if you want. It's your website, so you can choose however you want it to look. So after we choose our subdomain and we're good to go with that, you can just hit confirm. That's going to just make sure that it's available for you. Then what we want to do is hit marketing profile. So this is going to just essentially ask me to kind of confirm details I already put in my marketing profile before. So that's why I always suggest putting that in first, because you don't have to worry about having to go back and fill it out in here later on. So again, you can do the marketing profile from the settings menu, and that will just kind of take a little bit of time off your plate having to redo this here. And you want to make sure everything in the asterisk is filled out. So things like your bio, for example, you do have to have some sort of bio in here, whether or not you decide to put in like a full-on essay or just maybe places that you're covering or kind of focusing on. You want to make sure you have something in here. Okay, then we go into license number, which is completely optional. You don't have to add it. I know a lot of agents do, so you can just pop that in there. Then you have your office market center brokerage license number, office number. The compliance and legal footer links I get questions about. You don't have to add these. I believe this is more applicable to specific states that require some extra documentation, and we don't need to do that. Then you go in down to imagery, and I just want to, just as a heads up, be careful with the team and header logos. From what I can encounter lately, you can't actually delete these once you upload them. So if you uploaded a team logo on mistake, as far as I know, there's not a real easy way to get rid of it. But you'll want to make sure you have at least your headshot. You definitely need to have a headshot. And you want to make sure you have at least a Market Center logo as well. I've explained this on other videos where you can find those. They are available on KW Connect. So if you're ever in search of the logos for your office, you can find those on KW Connect. Then I have my social links. So basically my Facebook and Twitter pages, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Then you have your app link here. That's always going to be there. And you can notice it's grayed out because you can't change it. So the app link you have is user generated. And that's going to be your app link forever, or at least until they make it somewhat customizable. But in any case, that's your app link there. So as long as you have that, you're good to go. If you notice you don't have this or it comes up as blank, I've seen that before. Make sure you go back into your marketing profile and make sure it's all filled out. All right, let's go ahead and move forward here. We're going to go into step 2, which is the theming and style. Now, as far as I know as well, with the theming and style, there's only going to be 2 different options, the black and red one. Now, if you have your own custom logos, like for a market center, for example, this isn't going to be really changed. And I noticed with this as well, it doesn't really change yet as well. So really, if you choose one or the other, it's not going to make a huge difference to the aesthetic. I mean, I haven't really noticed anything different. And I think I kind of look past that either way. So in any case, whatever your favorite color is, whether it's red or black, you only have 2 choices, for now at least. Then I added some homepage text, which is basically this text here. I just put do your NJ home searches here, just making it a little bit more focused in this area. You can change that to whatever you want though, that's why it's there. And then you have these homepage hero images. Those are basically the backgrounds, and you can have up to 5, so you can create like a little slideshow there. And it does have some sample ones available. I have these nice little sample ones here. You can change those out if you'd like. I believe in the designs now, they do have some you can download. So if you're ever looking for some fresh ones, you can download them there. And then that will be it for style and theming. It's basically just those 2 steps. Then we go into our last step here, which is basically adding in some additional content, which is going to ask me for my site pages here. So it's going to start with a company profile. which I skip this one when I go through this, just because you can kind of go through and add whatever you want under a company profile. It's a little bit more flexible. I've seen agents who use it to put in information about their team or services, or they'll add in a few testimonials. You can do that as well through that. But we're going to just skip it for now. And we're going to go to this page here, which is my About Me section. It's basically my bio. You can see here it already auto-populated based on the information we filled out earlier. Now, there's two other things you might have noticed. There's a navigation bar, which is going to allow me to kind of switch where it lives inside of the website. And then you have a SEO tab here. So SEO is basically just how Google indexes your website on the Google search results. And what it does is it actually looks for specific keywords in your site that are highly searchable. I guess that's what you can say. So specific keywords like Keller Williams or real estate, commercial, residential, those are all different keywords that kind of build out this description. And it uses those keywords. As you can see, optimizing the description is very important, as search engines will match keywords used in consumer searches with this description. So in a nutshell, it's basically saying the more descriptive words you use in your description that people would be searching for, the more likely they'll come across your page at some point. So just keep that in mind when you're working on your SEO. And if you ever need any sort of inspiration, if you just do SEO description inspiration as like a Google search, there's a lot of awesome pages that can kind of like help you out with that. And myself, I'm kind of looking into it a little bit more too, just to kind of up my game with that. But I kind of have a general idea of how it works. So if you ever have questions, you can always reach out to me. Then we go into content. As I mentioned, it's going to use content from my marketing profile. So it is already filled out for me. And I could go back and change anything if I needed to. You know, my bio, maybe I'll change that at some point. But everything else here is just going to be my standard information. Then the last step here is just my contact page, which is basically like a lead capture form. And this is going to have the basics: first, last name, email, phone, and then a message. You can't change this, unfortunately, but I think that's good enough for what it's worth. And you can also customize this headline here, so you can make it something perhaps about a quick consultation or home valuation. And you can do that right under here where it says content. So once you hit save and continue, we're going to be brought to our congratulation page. It's going to say what's next. Your site will automatically launch on October 1st, which is quite a long time from now. Just kidding. It's they haven't changed this description. So basically it's going to say October 1st. We're definitely past that point now. I would just disregard that. But once your site is set up, you now have a site that your clients can go to and they can do listing searches from. And I do have it logged in with my consumer account. And you'll notice that I also have some additional features here, like my save searches. I have a guide here, which we're going to go over next. And then we have a feed. So the feed is going to essentially allow your you as an agent to provide updates to your client, whether it be new properties you want to show them, or you can see here, updated your timeline guide. So basically, if I'm going in and updating anything in the timeline guide, they'll get noted about that in their feed. Think of it as like your timeline on Facebook. That's the general idea of the feed. And it's still pretty new, so a lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily work just yet. But the general idea is that it would be essentially like a Facebook timeline, and they would get their updates from you every day. Sorry. All right, so let's go on into the site and app settings again. And I want to just make another note of something here. There's a little button. It says use my info to brand my agent site. Make sure that's turned on. I've noticed this with agents before. When this is turned off, it doesn't actually brand your website with your info. It's kind of strange. But if you click that on, it will brand your website with all that information we just filled out. So what I want to do now is I want to move into consumer settings. That's going to be the app settings that we're putting together for our consumer. And that's going to include things like the buyer seller guides. So let's go ahead and hit continue. And we are going to leave the site. So again, we're going to go into a Kelly guide here. It's going to give us just a little overview, setting up your setting up your KW app, customizing your guides, and then using it to market your app, because it will allow you to set up a smart plan as well for this, which is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and hit get started. You're going to notice again, it's going to have just some additional information. And we'll go ahead and hit next. Now you'll notice that under app download, we can click on that. It's going to give me a little hero text that I can edit. Here's my app links again. And if we click that little back arrow, you can see we can also add feature listings now. So you could turn it off if you want. Again, if I want to add additional listings, I can do that. And basically, you're going to see here right underneath my website, that's where they're going to appear. They're also going to appear inside of the app at some point. They're just not yet available, but you can set them up in here, as you can see. And I'd be able to kind of rearrange how they're laid out in here as well if I wanted to. Right now, this looks disabled, but I'll show you another way that you can do it from within command. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save again. And it's going to bring me to this screen here, which is basically setting up your guides. So you have two different guides. You have a buyer guide and a seller guide. Now under setup, it's going to have the buyer seller guide templates. I saw just something pop up in chat here. It doesn't work with sold listings. I've noticed that. It only works with anything active currently. So when I was playing around with this last week, I was looking for sold listings and they weren't there. So I believe what they do is they only have it live for actives currently, but sold listings could be something that they add at some later point. So what I want to do now, I'm only going to do the buyer guide. We're not going to go through the seller because it's essentially the same exact method, just kind of going through it under the seller versus buyer. Let's go ahead and hit buyer guide. And you notice what it does is it auto populates this little introduction, basically just congratulating this person for choosing me to help them with their buyer process, And we're going to go ahead and hit next. I can edit this if I want. This is the introduction page. I'm going to keep that the same. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. So as you can see, we're going to scroll down. You can see this list on the left-hand side. This is the guide. And this is what your client's going to see when they pull up their app and they're going through the guides and they're trying to figure out which step of the process are they currently in. So this is very nice that they give you this. So then it shows you, okay, we're in the start your search already. And this might be checked off as they kind of move along. And you can see here, it goes through pretty much all your standard steps. I did add some custom ones in here. You'll notice that I have like your home insurance one with CHA. You can also notice that there's another one up here, the home inspection one, which I believe I added at some point. And those can also be added here. As you can see, there's an added guide step. And you can also edit the ones that already exist, as you can see. So you can basically get a nice little overview of all the steps involved. You can kind of rearrange them as well. As you can see, there's like a little bar here that you can kind of set it up with. Then once we hit next, we can go ahead and just preview what it's going to look like. And this is going to be all the steps laid out in a little guide. So let's go ahead and hit next on that. Now what it allows you to do is after you set up your guides, you can actually use a smart plan to promote your app. So the smart plan is going to basically send out a automated email to your clients. And then you can also have it set up to send out a text. So in addition to the email, it'll have a couple additional follow-ups for a text to that particular client. Now, you don't have to use the texting steps necessarily. These are going to be automatically set out if you are using Twilio. But if you're not using Twilio, it will give you a prompt on that day to send out a text. And it does give you a little example text as well, which you can also use. I like that a lot. So by default, it'll always turn on your smart plan, and you can also add people. There's a little add button there. And I can say, I want to add, you know, we just met Chris at an open house, and I do want to send him a link to my app. So I'll go ahead and hit add the smart plan. And he is now in my smart plan. And then once I hit next, it's going to give me some additional resources, things I can do after I have my app set up. So sharing it with my Sphere on social media. They do have nice little quick posts you can set up. Captivate with a data-driven video. So in addition to social media posts, you can also generate video, which is also really nice. They have these nice neighborhood videos. And then you can craft your advertising strategy using your Facebook sponsored posts. So if you haven't done a Facebook sponsored post, you can use that to generate leads and also drive traffic to your app. So let's go ahead and click out of this. And we are back in my consumer page. Again, we're not going to be necessarily going out of this one too much. But I did want to show you, in addition to the way we were just in, where we were going over the feature listings, I do want to show you where you can also access them if you haven't seen it already. So let's go ahead and go to Site and App Settings again. You'll notice here that I have a feature listing section. And under feature listings, you can add up to 12 at a time right now. So I have just 3 that I kind of put in there as an example. And I can also go back and select listings. I can go here. You can select by your own. You can also select by all, which will allow me to essentially go through and search for listings throughout the whole country. And again, I can rearrange them in here as well. And those will appear on my website right under here. Pretty cool. So now this was a feature that a lot of agents were asking for quite a long time. And they finally added that. So now you have a little feature listing section on the main page. And you can showcase any listings you want there. Now, I do like to go into the app as well. So let me go ahead and share my app screen. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and see any questions. What do you suggest? What do you suggest my customers are looking for taxes on the app? Right now, they still don't have the taxes, unfortunately. And I'm not sure when they're going to add it. I know it's a feature that they're working on getting in there. I just don't know when it's going to be. And as far as listing other people's listings, under your featured listings, you can put any ones that you want. So yes, you can. So I'm going to just share my app screen real quick. And I'm going to turn on my screen mirroring here. There we go. So I'm going to go into my phone, and I just want to go briefly into the app itself. So if you can see my screen, I'm going to be working with the KW app right now. So let's go ahead and click on that KW button. So the KW button is going to give you this screen here if you haven't logged in. So let's pretend like we haven't logged in before. I want to just kind of go over how it works. We're going to log in. And if you've never been in the app before, it's going to look something like this. And the question I get quite a lot is if this app is connected with my agent login, which it's not. So the login for the consumer app is essentially completely separate, because you got to understand it is a consumer focused app. So the consumer would be signing into this with a separate login. So what I always suggest doing is you can create your own login specifically for this app, which is what I usually do. And we can log in here with that. I'm going to log in. And once you log in, you'll even notice on the top, it lets you know when somebody's logged into your app too. So that's also very useful. So you get a Kelly notification letting you know that, hey, somebody just logged into your app. Super useful. So let's just go over real quickly the basics here. So we have your search on the bottom. There's a feed. Again, I explained the feed before. The feed is going to essentially give your client updates on things I've done for them within my consumer settings. So uploading my timeline or updating something on their timeline, sending them listings. You can see saved collections in here as well, or saved searches. All that will be available through their feed. Again, this is fairly new and they're going to be updating this. So look out for new features as they build that out. The guide, as you can notice, it is actually the center, and it is a huge focus on the consumer experience in a sense. This is how your client's going to be updated on the transaction. So when they're starting the search, when they're getting pre-approved, when they start touring homes, and then going all the way through the whole process, all the way to the closing. And if you click on any of these, you'll notice it does give you a little bit of a description of what the stage is. This is specific to CHA, so it's giving you kind of like an information about CHA. But even some of these more standard ones that already come included, like the closing, you can see here, nice little update. And this is already pre-filled for you, so you don't have to do that. So I just want to go over that real quickly, just so you know exactly how the guides work when the client is looking at it. And it's right in the middle, they can't miss it. Then I have my saved collections here. Any saved searches would also live in here as well. So if this client had a saved search created for them within my contact management tool, they would be able to see that saved search through here. You can also notice the collections. These are just properties that they would have favorited. And you notice that I have additional ones as well. Pretty cool. You can also notice that there's feature listings here. So this would be the feature listings created by myself, the agent. I didn't notice that before the other day. That's cool. And then your more settings here, it's just going to be your account settings, basically. You can notice that it's connected with me as the agent. I can also see any sort of history, what I've looked at previously. You can also add a co-buyer if you're going to add somebody else onto your account to collaborate. Under account settings here, where it says my account, you can also add places. So anytime I'm doing a property search and I want to see how much time it would take me to get to a particular place, they can also add places, which is pretty cool. And then you'll have a share KW app link. So as a client, they can share this app link to anybody in their sphere. So I can just share this to my friends or family. As an agent, if I connected with this as myself and I'm just using this as a way to promote my app, I can also just generate that text link and I can share that. You also have Keller Mortgage and then Keller Covered available as just examples. And then your sign out button. So basically that's all you would have here. Very straightforward. The search functionality is also very straightforward. You notice it's basically just a map geolocated to where I'm located currently. And I can kind of scroll around the map. I can move around here. It's going to show me properties around the area. And I can click on one of these here. And if we want to see more information, we can simply slide it up, or I can click on the photo. I like the slide up one. I think that's pretty easy. And you'll get a little information about the home. You'll get some information about the listing details, days on market. Again, that travel and commute time that I mentioned, that pops up here. And schools. So you also have school information, any upcoming open houses. I like that. Mortgage calculator. Here's something new, schedule tour. So you notice here, it's giving you this little pop-up box. It says your health and safety are a top priority. That's why we added the option to tour properties you're interested in through a live video chat. So that's pretty cool. So from my end as a client, I can go ahead and hit schedule video tour, and I could say I want to see something this Saturday between the afternoon, and maybe I want to say Sunday as well. Give myself some options. And then it's going to say, what type of tour are you interested in? Now, obviously, this is going to be useful both when we are out of this COVID thing, but even, going into the future. I think the video tours and live video tours are going to be a lot of what people are going to be doing soon, even after this whole thing's over. But you do have the ability to do in person as well. Of course, it's going to just give you that little disclaimer about your health. But I do like this. If you say select your preferred video platform, I can say I want to be on Zoom or I want to be on FaceTime. Or perhaps I don't have an iPhone. I want to say Google Duo, which I'm not familiar with, but if anybody in here has an Android, perhaps you know what that is. And then I can say schedule video tour. So you see here, it says your request is submitted. And you also notice here, this pop-up. Let's just go into that for a second so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So under my notifications, you'll see here, agent notification, video tour requested. I can view that. And if I go into here, I can look at the activity log. And this is currently broken, but the idea would be that it logs the interaction. I'm going to go back into command and show you it anyway, but the Kelly app will give you a notification when somebody has done that, which is very useful. And in regards to other things within the app itself, the search functionality is pretty robust. So you can also do things like landmark searching. So if you're looking to, or if the client is looking to move somewhere close to a specific, maybe hospital or park, or they want to live somewhere close to like a stadium or something, they can do landmark searches, and that will pinpoint the landmark and homes that are for sale around it. I thought that was pretty neat. Let me stop sharing my phone because I want to just show you some of the functionality within command of how it works with the consumer experience specifically. All right, so let's go back into command. So if you recall, I had requested a video tour, and you'll notice here where it says updated 2 minutes ago, that's me. I'm gonna go ahead and click on my name. And you'll notice here, one thing that it did do was it essentially logged everything that I was doing within the app itself. When I logged out, when I logged in, what collections I was currently viewing, which is also pretty useful. And then it shows me that request. You see here, view request. And I can see the listing address, which is pretty awesome, what the platform is. And then you'll notice that the timeframes that I'm giving the agent to let them know, like, hey, these are the timeframes I'm thinking about this Saturday and Sunday. And if I want to see the property, I can hit view listing, and I myself can take a look at this property as well. Very cool. So we're getting close to that 15-minute mark. I just want to take time to answer questions. And Andy's asking, does it rise to the top if there's a notification on the Kelly app or command? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but if you're saying like if you're going to get a notification on your phone.
Yeah, I'm just asking if, because I realized the other day that I got a notification. I didn't hear it. There was.
Typically, yeah, you will see it on the top. If you're not on your phone at that very moment, depending on the type of phone you have, like in the iPhone, it'll have it in a notification center.
Okay.
So if you slide down the screen, it'll have all the notifications that you have in order. And the Kelly one will pop up there. Like I just looked in mine, I have quite a few.
Oh, okay.
So they will pop up there.
Okay. I see.
Then, yeah, if you're on Android, I think they have something very similar to that. But yeah, you will get those notifications through the Kelly app. And I can also go into my database and I can notice who was last updated. I did make it a habit just to kind of go through my database once a day just to see what's been last updated.
So do you go click on updated and then bring all the last updates to the top every day? Okay. And
Yeah,
it'll
mine is
show up
saved
there.
as a smart view that way. So it always has it kind of in a descending order.
Okay.
And then I can just click on the name. I can view it, their timeline card, and I can see exactly what they've been up to. And I can see that they had requested a tour.
So one more question, Chris. On the KW app, when we share the app from our own app, it says work with my realtor on Post instead
Yeah,
of work with on Post, or,
yeah.
is there any
You
way
can,
to tweak that?
I mean, once you set it up to send out the text, you can change the wording in it.
Oh,
But
okay.
that might be something that you set up and you can kind of keep it as a note in your command dashboard. If you're on an iPhone, if you're working on a Mac, you can actually use iMessage. And the benefit of using iMessage on your computer is that you can essentially copy and paste text from anywhere and just send it as a text message. So for me, if I wanted to have like a very specific text that I send out for my app, I can just kind of copy and paste that into my notepad here.
Hmm.
And I would always just be able to go back and copy that when I want to send it to somebody. Otherwise, you can keep it in your phone. You know, you have a note section in your phone as well.
Hmm.
You can do that too.
Okay. So it's really something that we just have to physically change each time.
Yeah, I think at some point they might have a setting to actually change the wording of that text message, but right now it's essentially a canned response.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
you just kind of it just auto populates it into a text box and then you can just change it from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, so for the consumer experience specifically, that would essentially cover how you can get your website and app set up or customized for you specifically. And then I just wanted to give you more of like an overview of some of the newer features, just so you have a better understanding of how your consumer is using this. Um, and I will be posting this on YouTube in a little bit. So if you want to rewatch this at some point later today, I'll have that available. But that would basically be it, unless anybody has any other questions for me. I think I saw something in chat. Uh, is there a limit to the descriptors for SEO? I would probably keep it short. You know, you can do a website search on Google, like SEO description length. I wouldn't keep it. Yeah, that's what I would have said, about 160 characters. Because you got to notice, like, it's not going to have all of it here. You see how it cuts off at some point. So having it pretty short where it gets enough keywords just in this bit here, that would be highly beneficial to you. And it doesn't have to be very long, but you can do it for every single page. So it makes it more well optimized, if that makes sense.
Does it need to be in the form of a sentence, or can you just use words?
I would probably keep it in a form of a sentence. And again, you can always go to Google and just kind of do a search for like examples, and you can kind of use some of those and tweak them however you want. I've done that with some of my stuff before. But yeah, they should probably, I mean, if it's just keywords specifically, it doesn't matter. But because it's using descriptions here, you'll notice like these are just descriptions, but these are SEO descriptions.
Right. Okay. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, that's what I would suggest. I mean, I might do a different class specifically to this. We'll see if anybody has any interest in it, but that's just like in a nutshell how it works. Cool. That was a good question. Stock photos. Yes, I did mention a site at one point for stock images that I really like. I will go to it. It's called Unsplash. So it is free. You can literally do any sort of image searches here. So I just did a home search and it gives you these nice stock images for free. You can use this one here with your little dog on the couch, or this one. So yeah, I would say give this a go. It's super useful and they're free, so you don't have to worry about having to pay to use them.
You have to be a
Um,
member?
What was that?
Do you have to be a member?
No, you can just do searches and then you can just kind of click on it and download.
Okay.
So I use this quite a lot. I find a lot of good stuff on here. And these, again, you can use these for your background images if you want, you know, or even if you're doing any sort of advertising and you just need a stock image because you're not necessarily doing an advertisement for a listing.
Mhm.
But yeah, these are very nice. They're high quality too. They're not like low res. So they'll look really good on your website. I saw another question in here. Christian saying pexels.com is free too. So yeah, you got a couple different options there. Here's pexels.com. I haven't heard of this one, but it looks kind of similar. Yeah, awesome. I'll bookmark this one as well. Good suggestion. All right, cool. Any other questions? All right, awesome. So again, I have this recorded. I will post this later today on YouTube. And if anybody has any additional questions, feel free to reach out. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Tuesday. I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day as well. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.